Hello, powerful nonsensers.
Welcome back.
Look, if you're on YouTube, look at this.
Looks pretty swanky.
We got a nice new studio setup going on.
It's because of all those interruptions we were getting. We had enough and we decided we're going to...
All the doorbells going, landlords showing up.
Postmen kicking off.
Dustbin men outside, causing a ruckus.
Women outside.
Women outside.
Wanting to see the Powerful Nonsense Boys.
So we had enough and we thought, it's studio time.
Yes.
So here we are in the Powerful Nonsense studio, we will call it now.
I think so.
As opposed to the Powerful Nonsense studio in inverted commas.
Somebody's house, basically.
So, welcome, guys. We've got a really interesting episode planned today, I think.
Well, I think it's one of those ones that actually just needs to be done.
It's needed to be done for a while.
Yes.
This is kind of our planting the flag in the ground, line in the sand type
This is
episode.
what we stand for.
This is what we stand for. We've been doing the podcast for a long time now.
117 episodes. This is the
118.
This is the 18th.
Including this one, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, the podcast has changed and evolved and grown over time. We change and everything. And so, because for us the podcast is about kind of our journey and learning what we learn along the way, sometimes it's skewed off in one direction at times and skewed off in another at times. And so this kind of episode is just kind of like clarity. Like, I keep referring to it to you as like the Powerful Nonsense Manifesto.
Which will be the title, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Sounds
like,
good.
what do we stand for? I still think we should do a little downloadable PDF.
Could do.
Well. I think that'd be quite nice. If we do one, it'll be linked up in the show notes / on the video. But yeah, so this is kind of, as I say, our line in the sand. What do we stand for? Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one.
I think so.
I think it's going to be a really good one. It's one, as you say, we've needed to do for a long time. It's also just as much for us, I think, as it is for you, because it kind of clarified a few things in our heads.
Yeah, because we've kind of been guessing what we think you guys want to listen to based on the things we are kind of going through. And obviously, a lot of the time we focus just on business, or we got really into entrepreneurship, but then we're like, actually, that's not our whole lives. There's so many other aspects, and we thought, actually, if we can kind of put those all together and kind of build this sort of lifestyle around what we do, and maybe there's other people out there that want to get involved. And obviously for us, entrepreneurship is kind of the core of it. It allows us to do the other things around it. And so it's kind of like now pulling in other aspects of being so that we build that sort of powerful nonsense, holistic life. So
as such, given that we're going through this, you'll probably find quite a few changes to the sort of content that we're putting out there as we kind of, now we've got our clear list of the things that we hold dear, if you will. You'll probably see a little bit of shift in the content that we're doing. But that being said, I think it's not going to be different content as such. It's just going to be a more holistic approach covering wider aspects. So shall we get on in?
So we're going to kind of do this in a way, we're going to talk through points of what we stand for, and then we're going to have a little discussion around those and then move on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wicked.
Okay, so you kind of touched on this a second ago, and I think this is kind of our starting point, which I think has really kind of defined powerful nonsense up to this point, which is that entrepreneurship is a means of taking back control of your time.
Yeah.
Which I think is why we focus on entrepreneurship so much, because we feel like if you're going to try and live life on your terms, do the things that you want to do, entrepreneurship's the cornerstone piece to that. Without it, you're going to struggle to do the other stuff, which we think is important.
Yeah, right? And obviously, like, you look at a 9-to-5 job, the core of a 9-to-5 job is, okay, we take this allotted time off of you, and so that for us is
and in return for that, we give you some money.
Yeah, and so for us, if we're saying, actually, no, time is your most sort of valuable asset, then we're kind of saying, well, entrepreneurship allows you to buy back that time. And so for us, in order to do everything else that we're going to speak about, you kind of have to be entrepreneurial, because otherwise, if you're just in that 9-to-5, it's more than likely that you are working 9-to-5, you are there 5 days a week, and so you're basically not going to be able to do all the other things that we're about to talk about.
Precisely.
Yeah.
I think you kind of nailed it.
Is that it, really? Is that
I think. Point? Well, I mean, I think that explains to the audience, at least, why we focus so much on entrepreneurship. Like, without entrepreneurship, we believe you're going to really, really struggle to fulfill the rest of the stuff
Yeah.
that we think is really important.
I don't think we'd be able to do this podcast now if it wasn't for
Absolutely
being
not.
entrepreneurial. Because we've managed to buy that time back by doing our own thing, we can now have the time in our day say, do you know what, we'll get together and do a podcast every week.
Right.
So that's what we're saying. You've probably got different values or different things that you value in life, and you can't do those because you're kind of chained to your desk every week. So we're saying, actually, you need to find ways of earning money, because obviously money is what people attach to time.
Right.
If you've got your bills covered, then people are like, well, I don't need to work anymore. So we're kind of like about getting those expenses covered to buy back the time so that you can actually work on your values.
And this isn't about like changing your job title to entrepreneur.
No.
I think when we talk about entrepreneurship, we're talking about a lifestyle choice and a way of thinking, a mindset.
Yeah, we're not talking Bentley suits and six-figure salaries.
Yeah. We're not talking on your Facebook, it says entrepreneur as your job title. It can be whatever career path you want, but it's about being entrepreneurial with that. So it's about going out on your own. It's about getting private clients and things like that. And you could be sidepreneurial as well, which is still entrepreneurial.
Yeah,
it's just you've not completely cut off the day job. You're going in and doing stuff on the side to earn another revenue stream, which is...
Yeah, I have friends that I speak to all the time, and they've kind of like cut their hours down at 9 to 5 to maybe 3 days a week, and on 2 days, the other 2, maybe they work on their freelance gig, and slowly they transition over, and then suddenly they realise they're earning more. So it's this idea that we are trying to figure out ways so that you can buy back your time ultimately.
Precisely. Cool. So the next point, which kind of is a continuation of what we've just said, which is that money supplements your lifestyle and not the other way around.
Yeah.
So it's this idea that you shouldn't be working... you shouldn't be...
Working for the sake of working.
Yeah. So you shouldn't be, like, giving up your lifestyle for the sake of money, is what we're saying. It should be... Money is what gives us the choices in life. It allows us to do things that we want to do. And that's where we should... That's kind of the relationship we should have with money.
Yeah.
Not that money equals happiness.
Yeah, I think obviously nowadays a lot of people have that sort of scarcity mentality about money. It's like the more you have, the more safer you are, the more secure you are. We're actually often... I don't know...
Well, I think in some ways that's true.
In some ways it is true, but then again, it's like, well, are you just trying to earn the maximal amount every single month, just go full out, that you have no life around that? And you're so afraid. Like, my dad's got friends who are millionaires, and they still like shop at like car boot sales and stuff like that because they just save all their money. They're so money driven, but then around it they have no life.
Well, that's it. I've found people that are incredibly money driven don't spend as much. Do you know what I mean? And I just kind of think, well, what's the point in all that work to get all of that money? It's like the richest man in the graveyard syndrome. Like, if you're going to make the money, invest it, spend it, enjoy it. Don't just
That's where you need
pop it all in a bank account for... I mean, obviously be sensible with your money. I'm not saying be frivolous with it, but enjoy it.
And then there's the other side of that, is people who are earning like their most they can each month, where it has to go up every month because they're literally, their lifestyle is gaining. So they've got a new car, they've got a bigger house, they're going out more than ever, they're buying expensive clothing. It's people who then, on the other side of it, they are forcing themselves to earn more, which means they're forcing themselves to take time away from themselves. And they feel tired, oh God, I've got all these expenses. But then we're also about, actually, we live our lifestyles very minimally. We can go out and enjoy ourselves, but it does not have to be at a level where we are slaves to having to work more and more. It's about knowing, why are you needing that Bentley? Why are you needing those clothes every week to make you feel good? Why is obviously that's people's decision they want to make, but ultimately we're saying that these things that you're tied to, these products you're buying, are they actually allowing you to then go out and live that lifestyle you want?
Right, exactly. So money supplements your lifestyle, not the other way around. Okay, next point. This is one that we haven't talked about for quite a while, really. Yes. But it is, I think, fundamental to kind of our vision of the world, which is currently, I'm going to say currently because I think it is going to evolve very soon, but currently the education system still promotes an industrial lifestyle, which doesn't allow for living life on your own terms. And
I think that's just so clear. We know that people are coming out, they go for the educational system, and you ask any person in year 11 now who's doing their GCSEs and say, what's the next step? It's either college, which means more education, or it's go get a job 9 to 5 and hope that somebody hires you. So for me, I think that nowadays, actually, the opportunity to go out and be a freelancer, to start your own business, to actually just figure out, actually, do you know what? Maybe I can do this on my own. Maybe I can create the job that I want based on the values that I have. it's so available, but young people today are just like oblivious. It's always back to that, go get a job, work 9 to 5, da-da-da-da-da. And so I think slowly the shift is happening. The reason why we do this podcast is because of this shift. We were the same people. I was the same when I went to uni, thinking as soon as I come out, I need to go work for somebody. And so I then got enlightened by these other opportunities available.
Right.
And so for us, the industrial revolution is on the way down. We know that.
Right. We're in the digital
but
revolution.
We're stuck with the industrial mindset people based in a digital world. Right. And so our idea is to actually educate people to be able to see that entrepreneurship is another option. We want people to be leaving education saying, you know what, I could get a 9 to 5 and there's nothing wrong with that either, as long as you're doing something you love and you don't mind giving away some of your time. But on the flip side, if you want to choose to do something you love and you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to have control of your time, here's another option, and it's super available.
Nailed it, mate.
Boom.
Nailed it. So this next one, I think, is so key to like the way millennials in particular think, and young people, which I think is also what the older generation is struggling to understand. Although as they're getting older are beginning to understand, which is that we're driven by experiences. For us, it's not about the Bentley, it's not about the material things, it's about what things are we going to get to experience during our, in the grand scheme of things, short time on this planet. And because of everything that we've covered already, you kind of need control of your lifestyle, you need control of your income, you need control of all of this stuff so that you can just go, oh, there's an experience opportunity that I only found out about yesterday, and I've only got tomorrow that I can go to do it, because it's a one-day thing and I can just go.
Yeah, I think the problem here was I think our older generation had a sort of hoarder's mentality where they thought, you know what, let's collect the money up first, and then when we get to that age, then we'll enjoy ourselves.
Right.
Whereas we're like, well, actually, our parents hit a midlife crisis. They're maybe not in relationships anymore. They neglected their family because they were trying to work too hard. And we're like, actually, we've seen that's happened. And we're like, actually, can we actually do the experiencing while we're young still and kind of spread it out over life? We'll work hard, but we'll also play hard, and we'll experience hard, and we'll travel hard, and we'll kind of get it in now so that we don't have to be in a walking stick on a cruise, with a walking stick on a cruise going around, not enjoying yourself. We're like, we have the opportunity to travel now super cheap. We can use Airbnb to stay in a hotel super cheap. Yeah. There's so much availability to experience even going out now. You've got like Groupon and bits and pieces like this, which you can go out really cheap, enjoy yourselves, be around friends. And we're kind of like, we want experiences now because tomorrow's not promised to us.
Nope.
And we know that even if we do work 9 to 5 for 30, 40 years, that doesn't mean we're going to be happy and healthy at the end of it.
Precisely. Precisely. As you say, like, there is no guarantees that we're going to make it past today. So you may as well just use the time that you have to enjoy and experience as many different things as you can.
Yeah, and it's not that sort of kind of YOLO, fuck it attitude.
No.
It's more just being more mindful, I would say, being more present. There's a very thin line between YOLO and being present, but I do think it is that idea that we are very grateful for today, and we just know that tomorrow's not 100% promised, so we think, let's enjoy our friends, our family today. And this isn't everybody, this is just our sort of mindset.
Right, of course, but I think it's this point that informs a lot of things as well. It's this point that makes you go, well, yes, entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial thinking is the way that I can tick this box. As I say, because it just gives you that freedom and it gives you that control of your time to go and experience these things. You don't have to, as you did, quit your job to go travelling for 6 months.
No.
Although ultimately you didn't go travelling for 6 months, but that's another story. But you had to quit your job in order to do that travelling. You could, if you're an entrepreneur, travel and still work at the same time, depending on how you set up your business. And it's things like that that allow us to go and experience these things.
Definitely.
Cool.
I think we should take a break.
I think so as well. So we're just going to take a break, thank our sponsors and Shizniz. So we thought we'd just take a few seconds just to say thank you to our sponsor, University of Northampton. Huge thank you to them for supporting the show. So why should you check them out? Well, first of all, we're alumni. We went there. So everything that we kind of deliver to you kind of comes from them in a way. But also, they're not just about getting a degree. The thing we love about Northampton Uni, from experience is the fact that you come out of your course with your degree, but also there's so many options on the table. They understand that it's not just about going out and getting a job anymore. It's also about the possibility of setting up your own business and becoming an entrepreneur. And to top that off, it's not just about setting up a business, it's about setting up a social enterprise. That's their specialist area. So if you're thinking of setting up a business, it can also be one that's doing good to the world and delivering social impact. So check them out, northampton.ac.uk, and a huge thank you to them for supporting the show. Welcome back.
Hello.
So, we're covering our
Manifesto.
What we stand
The
for.
pillars of powerful nonsense.
Yes. I like that. The pillars of powerful nonsense. I like it. Okay. So, let's jump straight back in. This one we've kind of touched on briefly already in everything that we've said, but just to make the point, being human, I like this one. Being human requires a holistic lifestyle, so health, fun, and experience. So it's about that work hard, play hard, look after yourself, make sure you're not burning the candle at both ends. None of this YOLO bollocks. Make sure that you are looking after yourself, but having fun at the same time.
Yeah, people were not made to literally work all the time. You can go look at the evolution of tribes. They would go out and hunt in the morning and enjoy in the evening, be around each other, talk to each other, eat together, work. You don't have to work out because you're running around to hunt. Lucky for us, we've got supermarkets that give us our food, so we need to go and train ourselves to stay
You could
healthy.
run to the supermarket.
You could do, but most people will just
that's
click
probably
and,
not a bad idea, actually.
click an order online and then just fight the food off the shelf, start punching it off the shelf and like kick people over.
Wouldn't it be great if you went into the supermarket with like bow and arrow and shit?
Just like shooting.
Go to the meat aisle and
just grab it in a headlock and pull your chicken out. Yeah. So we don't have to do that. So I think as well, we've come so far away from what a human is to like what we do naturally. We aren't meant to sit at a desk for so many hours every single day, stagnating at our desk, brains stuck on one thing. We like to be creative. We like to move about. We like to eat healthy. We like to be around our families. We like to go and experience new things. And so, yeah, like the point says, humans require that holistic lifestyle, and we believe that, again, entrepreneurship is something that can supplement that.
boom.
Cool. We've got a lot of points
Jamie,
to get
you're
through.
nailing these today. Okay, so the next one is one that I'm a big fan of. Embracing technology.
Yes.
We think that it's something that enriches our lifestyle. It's going to dictate the careers of the future. And also, let's be honest, it's the biggest tool that we have that previous generations didn't have. So we may as well use it to the max, work out how it can benefit us, and just go with it, run with it.
Yeah, and I think a good point to make on this one is the idea that I think we know that technology has helped us do things more efficiently, but the problem is we've now upped our work ethic to it. So now we think, okay, we're much more efficient, so we don't have to work as hard. But then we say, okay, let's do more. And so actually technology isn't about just making sure that you can do, I know, 5 days work in one day. It's actually about, well, actually, I bought myself 2 days. I can now be holistic.
Right.
It's that idea. It's not about using technology to just exhaust you and now be on your apps, you're on social media, on everything. It's about knowing that you can dip in, look at the news quickly on your phone for 5 minutes rather than sitting on the couch for an hour going through news.
Right.
You've freed up another 50 minutes to go talk to your sister or talk to your brother or go visit your nan or whatever else. So, yeah, I think that's the thing about technology. We know it's made us more conscious. We're more aware. We're more aware of different things that are going on in the world, how to live, how to eat. And it's, again, I think we're going to talk about this point in a bit. I think technology has allowed us to be able to question things. Like we are questioning things every week now. We're learning new things. We're being able to talk to you guys on the web. If you're listening to us, then you've used technology to learn some more, to open up your thinking. So for us, I think technology is key, but it's not to then let it like engulf your life.
Yeah, it's about it's about enriching the lifestyle. And that's where I think that's, for me, when I think of technology and people go, why do you love technology? I'm like, because it just enriches your lifestyle. If you want to be more productive, you can use it to be more productive. If you want more entertainment, you can have more entertainment. Like the whole thing just allows you to build the lifestyle that you want.
Entertainment.
Yeah, but well, I think... Oh. Let's not go there. But throw me now. I'm going to move on to the next point on that bombshell.
That's probably best to do that.
Okay. Actually, this is an interesting point to follow on. Not from what you've just said.
I know. But
although you could do, or what you've implied rather, is that I hate you so much. Relationships are king.
Yes, real relationships.
Real relationships. But do you know what?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think technology has like really benefited the relationship space as much as some of the older generation don't want to admit it. Like I am friends with so many people that I haven't even met in person.
Yeah.
But I can pick up the phone and talk to because of technology.
And we went and met our friend who we interviewed on
Right.
the podcast in Ireland. That came out of nothing. We didn't know the guy originally, and then we got together. So.
Exactly. So, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, relationships are king. It's about the people that you surround yourself with. It's about, like, even when it pertains to entrepreneurship. Like, I was thinking about this earlier today. The biggest key to, I think, any success in business is the relationships that you build.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I think the more you open up that network, you've got a problem and somebody springs to mind now. Like over time, I've managed to build that up. So if someone needs something, I'm like, okay, I know that person who has this and this person has that. And slowly it builds up and everybody helps each other in that network.
Exactly. But it's not just business. It's also the lifestyle that you lead. Like it's that what's become a cliche now, but you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with obese people, you're going to become obese, or at least more obese than you were, right?
Yeah, and obviously going back to what Guy Winter said, like these relationships are your emotional nutrients. These are your mental health. These are people when you're feeling down, you speak to them and suddenly they enlighten you on a different perspective that makes you more relaxed. And so we need people around us. And I think, relationship is vital to the entrepreneur, to being a human ultimately.
Yes, definitely. Cool.
Yes.
This is a really important one. And I think this is the one that really defines the millennial generation.
Yeah.
I think if you could sum up the millennial generation, this is the thing I would say. We think it's really important to actively question the way things have been done before.
Yeah.
Don't look at the status quo and go, it always has to be that way. Because as Steve Jobs says, one of my favourite Steve Jobs quotes, and this is the quote which really changed my life and the way I think about things, which is that when you look around at the world, you realise that it's been built by people no smarter than you. And when you start to tweak things and poke things and see what happens, that's when life really changes. And I think it's so true.
Yeah, that's where the technology comes in. Like we can now see, look on a Facebook feed, you can suddenly see people trying to raise awareness of different issues that are going on around the world. We would have never been able to see those before.
Right.
And like you say, you can poke things quite quite cheaply and quickly and easily. That sounds really wrong going back to...
Will you behave yourself?
Yeah, but I do think...
Thank God we don't sell ourselves as a family show.
Exactly, X-rated. But like I was saying, like that quote says as well, we can just question things. And I think that might mean speaking to somebody, that might be listening to a podcast, that might be picking up a book, watching YouTube videos. And so, we are willing to kind of go out there and question these things. And that's where the change happens. Cool, next one.
Super. Okay, so we've got 2 more. The penultimate one is that we're purpose and values driven. Kind of links back to what we've just said, in that, like, in fact, it kind of encapsulates most of what we've said. It's about what you stand for and why you stand for those things and why you do what you do. And as a society, I think the world would be a much better, happier place if everybody thought that way, rather than just being like, I want lots of money.
Yeah, and I think the problem is, I think the industrial mindset has kind of like already sort of impregnated our minds with what we should care about and what we should want from society, all our expectations. And I think, if anything, this is the point where I think most millennials need the biggest amount of work, is to kind of go back to what do I value, what is find how to be purpose driven. I think that's what I've had to do over these few years. I think the more you read, the more you kind of explore yourself, the more you get to know what makes you tick, what you do like, what you don't like, what you stand for. There's great the DiMartini value test that we put on one of our, we'll probably link to it, but I think that's one thing that everybody should sit down and do. It helps you kind of gauge what your values are, because I do think a lot of millennials are confused on what they care about, which is why it's so hard for them to make decisions going forward. But when you know your values, you just kind of say, should I do this? This is what I value. Will that be affected? Okay, I don't go ahead with that. And I think, I'd say this is a really good point about millennials, but I do think that's probably where millennials need the most work.
I would probably agree with you there, because I think with millennials, just quickly, there's kind of a lot of that oh yeah, we're driven by experiences, we want all this sort of stuff, but we don't really know why yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why the older generation have this view that millennials are entitled. Because I think because they're not connecting the dots in why do I want all this stuff, it almost comes across as self-centered as opposed to if you actually have a purpose and the reason why you want to achieve those certain things, that's when people can frame things a lot more differently when they're looking at you, because then it's like, oh, I understand the motivation behind that rather than just I want.
Yeah, and I think if you don't know your purpose, it's really hard to be an entrepreneur, because then it usually is where the fire is underneath you, because every time you're demotivated or you're feeling like you're struggling, you go back to your purposes, you go back to the reason why you're doing what you're doing, and that again kicks you off, starts going. Like, we don't have to do hours of podcasts every week,
right?
But we love it. It's part of our purpose. We like to learn, we like to share, we like to connect. So again, that's why it becomes easy for us to do.
Exactly. Okay, final point.
Yes.
And I think this, and you think you actually asked for this one to go last, and I think good choice. It kind of sums up everything that we've just said in many, many ways, which is that success is a unique thing to each person. So question your definition of success.
Yeah, because it's easy to look at everybody else around you and say, well, they look successful, but then it's what are you? If you look at somebody who's rich and has a nice car and you say they're successful, then it just tells you that the story you're telling yourself is that cars and money and like products are a successful person. But you go deeper into that person, and there could be somebody else who really massively values relationships and friendships, and then you look at that person with the car and he's lonely, he's got no friends, he's hoping somebody kind of pays him attention, or he's got too much money, he's so hard to trust people. Suddenly you say, well, actually this guy's in poverty in the friendship and the relationship department. And so it's kind of understanding, like, what, again, going back to the values, what do you value? And success is kind of this big blown up word that everybody uses, all the blog posts uses, how to become successful, etc. But ultimately it's something that's really inside you decide it. For somebody, it could be just caring for somebody else is your definition of success. It could be just being there for a friend. It could be bringing up your family in the best way you can. It could be maybe working that shitty job just because you want to make sure you've got a roof over your family's head. That means you're successful. Just because you're not an entrepreneur earning six figures doesn't mean you're not successful. You are successful. It's kind of really think about yourself. What brings you happiness? What are your values? And then you can kind of gauge your own personal success. And we talk about all this stuff. And again, we always say this is our ways of thinking. We're not trying to put it on you. We're just saying this is how we see things. And so it's up to you to kind of go out and really think about how you want to define success.
Boom. Cem, you're on fire today. On fire.
Sweating, that's what I'm doing.
So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yes.
What we stand for.
And we sat in a cafe and kind of really put down these points one after the other, really mulling over.
Well, it was about time, because we've, as I said at the beginning, we've been doing this for a while now. We've kind of had a very general idea of what we stand for, and a lot of themes come up and crop up on a regular basis. But we've never really actually put it to paper, really put it in black and white, what are the things we stand for. And, I think you guys would probably like that more clearly defined. We needed it more clearly defined. And I think it's only going to be a good thing. So that you will see shifts, as I say, in the sort of content we're putting out. We're going to be experimenting with a few new things. The core basis of it's going to stay the same, though, so don't worry. Great. So,
yes,
that's the episode. We got a couple of asks, as always. Please leave those iTunes reviews. We've had some new ones recently.
Yes, people are listening to our ask and actually taking action, which is nice to see.
One from, shout out as well, from Marcus Bronzy.
Great
of the
podcast.
How to Kill an Hour podcast.
How to Kill an Hour.
Amazing
Decent.
podcast.
If you want a good laugh.
Yeah, it's the opposite to this. It's like not too heavy. It's not heavy at all. It's just a couple of guys just sat having a good chat about what's been going on.
It's pure London bands.
It is so good. It's one of my favourite podcasts at the moment. So shout out to Marcus Bronzy and Funk Butcher.
Yep.
So check them out. But yes, please leave a review on iTunes if you're listening on the podcast app. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and leave a comment.
Awesome.
And we'll be eternally grateful. Thanks very much, guys. We shall catch you next time.
See you later.